Oh, well, you know what? I did this on yeah. Well, you know what? They can take it.
Back to like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, what I introduce everything.
You have the mutes on. The little slider there. Yep.
Hello, everyone. It is 5:30. I'm going to start introductions, and I will be starting with the school trustees first, and then the potential candidates for mayor and council. So, number one, Susan Flowers. Susan has lived in Cochrane for over 22 years. Susan has worked as a social worker for 27 years and 22 years as a town for the town of Cochrane FCSS. After retirement, she worked as a town council for 8 years. Susan holds a social work degree. Number two, Fiona Gilbert. Fiona has lived in Cochrane for more than 18 years. Fiona has built a career as an event manager, first in Toronto, then Banff, and managed the Cochrane Movie House for the past 16 years. Fiona has served as on the Rocky School Board of Trustees for the last 12 years, holds a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Education, a LAPS Ontario teaching certificate, and has completed an advanced leadership in governance and MRU and USC. Number three, Pamela Peters. Pamela has lived in Cochrane for 5 years. She is a retired accountant of 30 years in the oil and gas industry as a joint venture accountant and 8 years in manufacturing as a financial accountant. Pamela holds a Canadian Association of Petroleum Production Accounting Certificate and attended Mount Royal University in Business Administration. All right. Jeff Canung, candidate for mayor. Jeff has lived in Cochrane for nearly 50 years. Mayor and previous councillor, he's a small business owner of coffee traders. Thank you. Morgan Nagel. Morgan has lived in Cochrane for over 21 years. Owner of digital communications software development company, Jumping Pound Digital. Nagel leads a high-profile online public relations management campaign on behalf of Canada's largest oil and gas company. His company has developed financial software used in car dealerships. He leads a team of developers that makes video games sold worldwide in 14 languages. Morgan holds a Bachelor of Commerce. Dean Hopkins. Dean has lived in Cochrane for 3 years. He is the Vice President of Operations for Calgary Equity Security, employing over 200 security staff throughout Alberta. He is also a business owner, operating skilled rate property maintenance consultancy. Dean has spent 30 years in the military and is decorated for bravery in Bosnia. Dean states that the qualifications in leadership is attained cannot be acquired in any classroom, lecture theater, or university, or higher seat of learning. Margaret Blair. Margaret has lived in Cochrane for 7 years. She is semi-retired and consults in business change leadership. Margaret has an educational background in economics and political science. Dan Coonan. Dan has lived in Cochrane for over 22 years. He is employed by the government of Alberta as a social worker. Having worked in children's services, employment standards, he has a Bachelor of Social Work, University of Victoria, with over 24 years of practical government systems training. Brian DeMont. Brian has lived in Cochrane for over 6.5 years. He's retired federal public service, including years as a diplomat with a decade of holding top security clearance from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CCSA. He was a senior immigration advisor with the Alberta law firm in 2003. Brian has a Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology with a major in health, fitness, science, minor in recreation administration and leadership management. Michaela Gale. Michaela Gale has lived in Cochrane for over 23 years. She's sole owner of Michaela's Bakery, Michaela is a 4-year business student with minors in finance and political science. Carol Grant. Carol has lived in Cochrane for 5 years. She is an oil and gas production accountant. Carol holds a Canadian Associate of Petroleum Production Accountant certificate. Chris Constance. Chris has lived in Cochrane for 11 years. He is a small business owner of Blue Pixel Media, a local web development company and digital marketing agency. Don Lessick. Don has lived in Cochrane for 3 years. He has worked in 20 years in the road construction and heavy equipment operator. Howard May. Howard has lived in Cochrane for 3 years. He's a freelance journalist who wrote for the Cochrane Eagle for 3 years. Howard has attended 4 universities, has a Bachelor of Business Administration with major corporate finance, forestry diploma, and a Master's of Communications at U of C. Laura McDonald. Laura has lived in Cochrane for 13 years. She is an executive director of Community Features Centers West, a regional nonprofit dedicated to rural economic development, formerly executive director of Helping Hands Society of Cochrane. Laura holds a diploma in visual and performing arts and nonprofit certificate in management, and holds a business diploma in major accounting. Sarah McFadden. Sarah has lived in Cochrane for 22 years. She works in public service with the Alberta Environment and Protected Areas. Sarah holds a BA in political science and an executive MBA in innovation. Todd Muir. Todd has lived in Cochrane for 23 years and 9 months. He is a management professional and consultant working with municipalities and affiliated groups. Todd has a bachelor's degree majoring in business recreation administration from the University of Alberta. Alex Reed. Alex has lived in Cochrane for 14 years. He is a retired university vice president who now leads an $18 million nonprofit that provides services to special needs children. Alex holds a master's in business degree. Scott Shannon. Okay. Paul Singh. Paul has lived in Cochrane for 11 years. He's a local realtor and holds a bachelor's degree in hotel management from India. He's continued his education at Humber College in Toronto, followed by a certificate in event management from Mount Royal University. Sabine Spears. Sabine has lived in Cochrane for 5 years. She's retired, working as a program manager for 30 years in private and public sector, overseeing large-scale programs with a focus on providing business value. Cole Sonderman. Cole has lived in Cochrane for 4 years. A nurse that has lived in for, sorry, I must have misspoke there, very sorry. Cole is an asset integrity engineer responsible for inspecting and determining the risk to assets such as pressure vessels and pipelines. Sorry? Okay, I'm struggling with this one. Served in the Army and worked in oil and gas. Cole has a bachelor's degree in engineering from U of C and an engineering technology diploma from SAIT. Patrick Wilson. Patrick has served in Cochrane for 33 years. He's a small business owner, managing 2 transportation companies, Rocky Mountain Shuttle, which transfers customers from Calgary to mountain destinations, and Taxi for You Cochrane, holds a Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Lethbridge. Sorry, we missed it. We're going to be starting from left to right in alphabetical order. Starting with the first question. Number one, what is the most important issue facing town council in 2025? What will you do as a council member to address that issue?
Hello, everyone. Okay, so I think the most important issue pressing Cochrane today is not just the scale of everything that's going on around us, but the accessibility or pointed to the population here of affordable seniors housing, which is currently being restrained by unnecessarily burdensome regulations that make the development of new complexes incredibly difficult and more costly. I think that this can be easily dealt with going into the future by a more sensible approach. Thank you.
Hello, I thought the most important issue facing town council this fall would be the budget, where the financial decisions start to address residents' concerns. After knocking on 6,000 doors, we've heard a common message. Residents want sensible growth. And here are some of the big things that they say are most important. Let's slow down to catch up. Let's address critical gaps in infrastructure and community services, fire and policing and water management. Let's reduce the town's reliance on taxes, residential, boost tourism, attract new industries and business, and be proactive. Let's reimagine a Cochrane with a Banff Calgary rail line. It's funny, yeah. Residents also want us to tackle traffic and affordable housing, recreation access. And in addition, seniors want to age in place. And when they are no longer able to do so, they want to be able to go, at least have the option for Big Hill Lodge or Bethany. And in the interim, they want access to 24-hour care. Well, I know most of the senior issues fall under provincial jurisdiction. There is an advocacy role to play, and I will advocate in every formal and informal channel possible. Now, getting back to the first year, I will incorporate resident feedback into the budget process, look for ways to cut costs, find new revenue streams, and prioritize capital projects, and most importantly, look for ways to slow down while we catch up. And that's it. Okay.
First of all, love to see so many people here. Second of all, you're going to hear a lot of the same things. I'm going to, I made the point of having a really full information on my website. I've done that to provide you with all the details you'll need to make an informed choice here. I'm not here to make you a promise that I'm going to be the most wonderful thing in the world, although I think I am. But ultimately, at the end of the day here, I have a plan, I have an experience to make that plan work. I've been involved, I've been involved with working in monitoring council for over a decade here. Many of you might know me from letters to the editor, you name it. To answer the question directly, we are now in a situation where the next council is going to have to face some serious problems. We have record debt. We have the lowest savings that we've had a growth-dependent budget. This ultimately is a situation where the next council is going to have to take some serious action. And it's not going to be easy solutions yet. So with that in mind here, again, I do have a plan here. Again, I don't have enough time here to completely tell you all the details. But I can promise you, the details are there. I'd love to talk to you even more with decisions with conversations. And that's all it. I'll give my time as well. Thanks.
I have a request from the audience, if you could announce your name, please.
Brian Damon. I believe that the most important issue facing town council this year continues to be our rapid pace of population growth and development, concomitant with our resultant lagging infrastructure and services. I would start by reviewing meeting minutes from the current council's term regarding this challenge to get a better sense of the history of it and actions previously taken. I would collaborate with my fellow council members. I would present my position that we simply cannot stop people from moving here pursuant to the mobility rights in Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I would also argue against severely restricting growth and development, because we need to increase our tax base for our rugged and spread out town, which makes it costly to service. We would also benefit by increasing our amenities, services, and affordable housing. On the other end of the development continuum, I would be vehemently opposed to rampant and unfettered capitalistic development with no regard whatsoever for our cherished parks, trails, green spaces, and historical downtown, which enriches Cochrane's fabric and attracts tourism with the current status quo. What we need to do is manage and control our growth, not stop or severely restrict it. There's no magic panacea in doing so, no formula to ascertain whether a development application or proposal is worthy of town council's approval or not. It will take lots of time, effort, and hard work on council's part. And I suspect that I would be a moderate intermediary between opposing factions of council in that regard. Finally, I would always welcome general and specific input, ideas, and concerns from you, the electorate I represent.
Hi, my name is Michaela Gill. So at the doors, I hear a lot that growth is a concern, but I think the bigger issue is that our services, the basics, haven't been keeping up. So for example, I think of the sidewalk gaps, I think our pathways need some attention, I think our parks need some attention. I would love to see even an outhouse in a lot of our parks during the summer. For example, some of the sidewalk gaps I think of is right along Griffin. It's not even a huge disconnect, but I think of, moms pushing a stroller, for example, or wheelchair users. It's not accessible. Another one is East End to Railway. It's not even a huge project. I just think we need to go back to the basics and figure out what residents want and how we can catch up and I guess be prepared for what's to come in the next 20 years.
Hi, I'm Carol Grant, and I think the biggest issue that we have right now is just we need so many things, and how are we going to pay for it? I keep hearing people talking to me about we need libraries, we need park space, we need so many different things, and fire stations, and I just think the biggest issue that we're going to have is figuring out how we're going to have the money to pay for all of this and not raise taxes, because people can't afford any more taxes, let's face it. So I think the biggest problem we're going to have is sitting down right on the first day, figuring out how much money we have, where we can maybe make a few cutbacks that aren't going to affect services, but we need to start making a few buildings that we need, fire stations, for example. And I think that one of the greatest things would be is to start utilizing buildings that we have and adding services together. So, like a couple of new fire stations, and maybe have like little satellite police stations in there, and like the library, for example, as well. Like, what can we put that with? If we're going to build another building, let's make our money count for something and just make sure that we're using all of our tax dollars wisely and make Cochrane great for all of us. We all need so many different things, and each group is going to need different things. Whether it be, seniors, residences, because I'm getting there too, and just what do we need for our kids? So we need schools. There's a lot of things that we need that we're going to have to advocate with the provincial government as well for those things. And unfortunately, we can't make a lot of the decisions. Thank you.
Well, hey there, I'm Jeff Chinook, Mayor of Cochrane. I'm going to say the same thing that most people are going to say, and this is what I've been hearing at the doors every single night that I've been out door knocking. Growth is the #1 issue facing Cochrane. Thank you. But that has many, many tentacles into our community. So what does growth mean? It means pressures on every single system. Every single system. And so as someone who ran for mayor in 2017, it's the exact reason why I ran, to slow Cochrane's growth. And when I got in, I realized that all of the approvals in place, all of Sunset, Heritage Hills, South Bow, River Song, I could go on, Fireside, all approved by previous councils. So we could spend our time spending our money on lawsuits, trying to slow growth and take back these approvals, which we can't, or we can spend it on infrastructure. And that's what I intend to do and keep doing. But the more pressing issue, I think, is all of those issues that I just talked about, and everyone else here is listing them. We need leadership. We need leadership from council. We need 7 members of council that are willing to roll up their sleeves, lean in, early mornings, late nights, and even during the day. And that means showing up. And that's what I have done for Cochrane, and that's what I'll continue to do. Fighting for what we need as a community. As someone who's lived here for 50 years, I was losing sight and recognition of my hometown, and I intend to keep that hometown intact. But also with the growth that we're experiencing, I would like it not to impact our quality of life. We need to preserve our quality of life and demand of those growth pressures from those developers that they bring things to this community that we all need, not just what they need. And that is going to take leadership from this council. All 7 of us pulling in the same direction.
Dean Hall. Okay. Don't start yet. Dean Hawkins. This is aimed directly at the new council, and it's to establish trust, communication, collaboration, and public engagement. I've watched over 1,000 hours of council meetings. I've done my research. I've read enough bylaws and documents to fill a small library. I've seen constantly on social media the future leaders of our town saying, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I've done this and I've done that. As someone who's spent a lifetime in the realms of a professional leadership organization, all I'm hearing is empire building managers trying to justify their employment for the past office just to obtain their position as your next mayor. They don't even take any regards to acknowledge the work of the previous council. A leader is not a rank, it's not a decision, it's a choice. It's a choice to establish lines of communication, internal and external, including public engagement. To bring a team together, use their potential to collaborate, to be more effective. This is all about teamwork. This is the most important thing. If a team's dysfunctional, then this is what we talk about red tape. I have enough life experience to fill 3 lifetimes, never mind the one I currently live. My leadership style has been tested on multiple continents through deployments and combat. This is all I'm offering our town, is the knowledge of the leadership styles I've got.
Hi everyone, Chris Coleman. I think the biggest issues facing town council in 2025 is how we manage growth in a way that actually works for the people that live here. Cochrane is growing fast, and that growth affects everything. Our roads, housing prices, schools, recreation spaces, and even that small town character that makes this place so special. Right now, too often, we're reacting to growth instead of planning for it. Developments get approved, and then we're trying to catch up with the infrastructure, services, and amenities that should have been put in place from the start. and that's frustrating for residents and expensive for the town. As a councillor, I want to shift us towards a more intentional and sustainable approach. This means making sure our infrastructure and amenities are planned and built alongside development, not years later. It means setting clear expectations with developers so growth contributes fairly to the community and isn't just something taxpayers have to shoulder afterward. It also means improving how we move about the town through better transportation planning, including walking, biking, and transit, so our roads don't get more congested as we grow. And most importantly, it means listening to the residents early in the process, not after the decisions have already been made. If we get growth going, we set ourselves up to tackle the other challenges more effectively, whether it's affordability, connectivity, or preserving that small town feel. That's why, for me, smart growth management is priority number one.
Hello, I'm Don Lees. The biggest issue for Cochrane Council in 2025 is rebuilding trust with residents. Growth, affordability, and infrastructure are challenges, but the main concern I hear is that people don't feel heard. After multiple terms, some councillors may lose sight of why they're really there and who they serve. Council's job is simple: to listen and reflect the voices of the community. If elected, I will listen first, make decisions that put residents at the center, and keep council focused on the people it represents. That's how we make sure Cochrane grows in a way that still feels like home. Thank you.
Hi, excuse me, sorry about that. I'm Howard May. Before we get on to discussing how we're going to manage growth, when I sat and listened to the 3 or 4 or 10 days of debate with council last year over the budget deliberations, the thing that really struck me was looking ahead, no matter if we don't even grow at all, just ask the folks that live in Glenville this year, there's infrastructure that's in the ground right now that's going to have to be repaired and rejuvenated. You don't have a choice. It has to be done. So the older, like East Cochrane, I'm guessing might be the next oldest part of town. Those are decisions that are, the longer you delay them, the more it's going to cost. So that whole discussion, I would say sensible growth. It's just such a cliche. What does that mean? I'm not going to stand here and say I think we should go faster, slower, or the same. I would look at it on a case-by-case basis. If a developer comes in here and offers to finance the building of a new library for a couple of $1 million, I tend to give them a smile. We've got things we have to pay for. The library needs to be 4 times bigger than it is. Big Hill Lodge is crumbling. I was shocked when I went and toured there. That needs to be replaced. And the budget that they passed, 3.63% increase, I believe, in the operating budget. Tara probably can correct me. But that's an inflationary budget. All that, what some people call an election year budget. What that means is you haven't made any tough decisions. There was some debate, but usually that's one of the lowest in the province last year. What does that mean? It means next year and the year after, there's going to be some real tough decisions that have to be made and some debate that should happen with a real team spirit and the spirit of collaboration. And that's what I would hope to bring to council, is strive to be part of a teamwork.
I'm Laura McDonald. Thanks. I agree with basically all of this, so I'm not going to repeat any of it. I think we're all on the same page about this rapid growth. So I want to talk about a theme of balance. Our town is out of balance. You can hear it in every single conversation we're having. That sense of being out of balance leads to division, which is another thing I pick up on in every conversation I hear in Cochrane. And I don't think it represents the community that we are. Whoever you elect for mayor and council has to commit to working together. So the second part of this question was, what are we going to do about it? I think your future council and mayor need to make a commitment to collaborate, to have healthy, respectful conflict, to find resolution together, and to show up for teamwork. Cochrane's facing massive decisions. The number of people who want to live here, that's not slowing down. So the trials and tribulations we're facing today, they're not going anywhere. So as we move forward and we face these massive decisions, we need to do it with a sense of who we want our community to be and a sense of finding that resolution as a team. I think our decisions need to reflect the diverse perspectives that exist in this town. And the only way we can find that balance for our community is if we have a council and mayor who are willing to show up, lean in for Cochrane, and work together.
Thank you, Laura. So my name is Tara McFadden. I'm one of your current councillors and proud to be so. And so the question put to us is, what is the most important issue facing the town in 2025, and what will you do to address it? And so that's just 42 days between the first council meeting and the last. So there's not much more time in 2025 to make a difference. And so that's why the most important issue for me in the year left is to lay the groundwork for action. We need to figure out how we're going to work together, what council expects from admin, and how we build trust, both within the council and with each other. So at the first meeting of council, I think every council member should voluntarily and publicly commit to respectful collaboration. I've seen this done in other towns, and it really sets the tone. I'd also bring back the discussion around bringing in the statement of disclosure bylaw. It's a simple but important step. Council members would share a financial or personal interest that could affect decisions. It wouldn't be about pointing fingers. It's about being open, honest, and making sure that people know that we're working for them. So as it's been said, and as we know, managing growth is the biggest issue facing Cochrane. And the new council is going to need to get aligned early on how we're going to tackle that. So that starts with the budget. It's the most important decision any council makes in any given year. So I'll push in one of our amendments for an evening budget session where residents can ask questions directly. And it's a great way to make the process more transparent and make sure that council is listening. So my role as a councillor is to continue to advocate for a complete community, a place where people can live, work, play, and access what you need close to home. This election is about people. And so this complete community is about housing choices. So thank you very much.
Test. Everybody can hear me okay? Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Cochrane residents. My name is Todd Muir. And my answer is going to be a little bit different than some of them probably, but it's as per my campaign. I think there's a number of important issues. Depending on who you're talking to, what's important to the residents, and they all need to be addressed. Like, we've got a big job ahead here. I'll just list a few of the ones that are important to me, and important to all of us. They should be. The Big Hill Springs Lodge, or Big Hill Seniors Lodge, built in 1970, yes, definitely needs to be addressed. Start the plans moving forward, and look at, there's probably a shortage of seniors housing options in general. That's pretty darn key. I'd like to think I can live here right through until whenever. So that one's important to me. Infrastructure and roads, very similar. We've got one community, or maybe a couple communities that only have one in and out. We have to do better going forward with that, and that needs to be a priority. So I got that one. The cement plant, very important to a lot of people. I've listened, I've done a lot of research on that one. It needs to be sorted out. I'm not shy in saying that. We have to come up with what's best for the residents and the people that live around that area. Close to my heart is preserving parks and our beautiful natural spaces. I would like to see them protected a fair bit from developers getting their hands on them. So that's one. And then I just got a couple of extras, and then I'll be turning it over. I got that one. Controlling future growth, as most of the councillors and candidates have said, definitely important. And we need to have some policy framework in place for going forward with this. What's gone in the past, we have to manage it, but we need some new policies put in place and then that fed down to administration, and that's the right terminology. And public transit is definitely important as well. Thanks very much.
My name is Morgan Nagel, and you may have noticed all the way down the line, there is broad consensus of everybody up here that we need to be slowing down growth and doing a better job of managing our infrastructure. What I'm hearing is that there's a broad consensus of concern of the direction that our community is currently heading. And yes, we need to be slowing growth and doing a better job of managing our infrastructure, but that's not my number one priority. If you look at my campaign literature, my number one priority is better government. Because the biggest issue in our community is the way our administration is the tail wagging the dog on council. In my experience working in the private sector in oil and gas, the difference that I have seen in how the private sector operates versus how our government operates is like night and day. Somehow at the ranch house, even though we have over 300 employees, about $100 million budget, it seems like anytime council wants to do anything, it's going to take a minimum of a year. We need to be hiring expensive consultants, and we can't seem to get the results the council is asking for. And I can give you some great examples. There's the rodeo grounds lease. We were supposed to extend it for 50 years, and council was in unanimous agreement that we wanted to move forward with this. But our administration said this is going to be too much work. We have to push it out. And here we are 9 months later, the term ended, it never happened. When members of our community wanted council to explore backyard hens, I'm not endorsing that, but I am endorsing the ability to explore it. Our administration said this is way too much work. It's 500 hours of work. And it's not just the little things, it's the big things. We have fallen behind on planning for recreation, on planning for fixing our transit, on our traffic infrastructure. We're about to hit our debt limit and we don't know how we're going to fix it, yet there has been no accountability with our administration. Instead, we've continued to pay bonuses to our city manager. And so the number one issue in our community is putting our council, not the mayor, but council, back in the driver's seat. And if I'm elected, I have a day one plan to put our government back to work.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Reed. Thanks, Mom. If you're feeling like many of the people that I've been meeting knocking door to door, it's getting harder and harder to afford to live in Cochrane. And you're not alone. Families are telling me every day that rising property taxes are pushing their budgets to the breaking point. Now, I believe that sustainable growth is an issue, as everybody else has said. But let's be honest. For most households, income is not keeping up with inflation. The tax burdens that you're feeling and I'm feeling are growing and climbing every year. And it's becoming very apparent that something has to change. So for me, the number one concern that I'm hearing while knocking on doors is, Alex, I don't think I can afford to live here anymore. And as many of you can attest, on a fixed income, this is becoming more and more difficult. That's not the community that I want to live in, and I'm sure it's not the Cochrane that you want to be in. That's why I believe the biggest issue facing town council in 2025 is finding alternative revenue sources, solutions that will ease the pressure on residents in terms of the tax base. If I'm reelected, my focus, my energy, and my time will be dedicated to shifting the burden off your backs and my backs and finding smarter ways to fund the services that we rely on. Cochrane deserves leadership with experience. Cochrane deserves leaders who will put the taxpayers first. Leadership that will fight for affordable housing and affordable taxes. And that's exactly what I intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Paul Singh. In 2025, one of the most important issues facing town council is rebuilding harmony and trust, both within council and between council, administration, and the community. Without a strong foundation of collaboration and mutual respect, even the best ideas can stall. And the visions our residents voted for can get lost. As a council member, I work actively to foster a team culture rooted in respect, openness, and responsibility. That means putting aside personal politics, listening with intention, and remembering that we were elected to serve the people of Cochrane. I will advocate for clear communication, regular check-ins with administration, and better community engagement so residents can see the progress is being made. When council and administration work together, not in silos or in conflicts, we can actually deliver on the mandate the Cochrane residents has given us. This isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about doing the hard work together to build a stronger, more united Cochrane. Let's get back to that. Let's work together. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sabine Spears. To me, the most pressing issue facing town council is not just policy, it's culture. Can you hear me now? I'll spread over there. The most pressing issue is not just about policy, it's about culture. Council needs to function as a cohesive team. When collaboration breaks down within council and with the residents, trust is broken. This election isn't just about replacing faces, it's about choosing a new direction. People across Cochrane are asking for change, and not just in what council does, but in how council behaves, how it listens, how it communicates, how it delivers. If elected, I will push for a culture of transparency, responsiveness, and accountability. That starts with opening the books, making it easy for residents to see where the tax dollars go and what services you're receiving. I'll advocate for clear service benchmarks so you can see how we are doing and where we can improve. Publish spending breakdowns that are actually readable. Invite residents into the budgeting process. But reforming council isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about a mindset. We need to move away from closed door decisions and toward open dialogue. And that means listening to residents every day and not just during the election season. It means acting on concerns around infrastructure, affordability, and environmental responsibility. It means not shying away from the hard questions. It means answering your emails. Without unity, even the best policies falter. And it's time to build a council culture rooted in teamwork, accountability, and mutual respect. And I think Cochrane is ready for this change.
I'm here speaking on behalf of Cole Sunderman. He was a groomsman in a wedding today, so he wishes he could be here with you, but he kind of had a commitment. So I'm his mom, Lori. So I'm going to read a prepared statement from him. So the most important issue facing Cochrane's Town Council in 2025 and forward is striking the right balance between managing the rapid growth that is occurring and preserving the small town character that makes Cochrane so special. Growth is inevitable. We've seen it in the rising population, increased traffic, and pressure on an existing infrastructure. But growth should never come at the expense of our small town identity or the quality of life residents expect and deserve. As a council member, Cole's top priority will be ensuring that infrastructure improvements like roads, public supports for such as fire and police, as well as public spaces like this rec center and the library that's much needed, are responsibly funded through existing revenues and not tax hikes. He believes growth should generate the revenue needed to support itself. If it hasn't, the hard questions need to be asked about where that money has gone and how we can do better. Cole's goal is to advocate for a policy that ties new growth development approvals directly to infrastructure commitments. That means no green lighting subdivisions or commercial projects unless the supporting infrastructure is planned, funded, and scheduled. Council must hold developers, staff, and itself accountable to that principle. And finally, COLE will champion initiatives that protect Cochrane's small town feel, whether that's preserving green spaces, supporting local businesses, or ensuring that new develops reflect the character of the community. Cochrane hasn't just grown, it's evolving. Thank you.
Last but not least, I'm Patrick Wilson. I'm one of the returning or incumbent councillors here. Slam dunk answer for me. I've been wrestling with it for years already. It's why I ran in 2017, fully perceiving the problem, but very novice to the solution. And that's that Cochrane is not collected proportionally for its growth for a few decades. Every new resident that has moved here has made current residents worse off. We are currently on an insolvent financial path leading to bankruptcy. This means we increasingly can't fund our infrastructure obligations that growth imposes upon us. Why does any of this matter to the average resident? Simply that if we increasingly cannot deliver critical projects and services to Cochrane if we don't get our financial house in order. This is the real reason that the quality of life is dipped in Cochrane. Crowded, long waits, services, infrastructure totally over capacity. Is it too late? It's not, but we're at a critical point. We cannot afford to take on another insolvent community. I've been working diligently to turn the ship around, and I'm happy to report that administration and former council were receptive to this message and approved several steps to reverse course. Since 2017, the last two councils approved only one residential subdivision, Greystone, which I voted against. Not because it isn't nice, it is, but because it's financially insolvent. All the other growth you're seeing in Cochrane is from pre-2017 zoning approvals, and that's madness, isn't it? Do I blame former councils before us for these decisions? Yes and no. No, because they didn't have the tools to charge for the growth. We still don't, but we're improving. Yes, because you don't have to approve growth willy-nilly while lacking the mechanisms to charge for it. I grant this is a complicated problem, and I suspect they didn't understand the financial consequences of the decisions. I'll stop there because I fear I'm going to go over on my second answer, so I'll leave time on the clock. Thank you.
For the second question, I'll be going from right to left, but I'm going to start with the mayoral candidates first, and then you, Patrick. Okay? Question number 2. What is the most critical infrastructure needed to support Cochrane as a safe, happy, and resilient community? What will you do over the next 4 years to put that infrastructure in place?
So we have a lot of important, Morgan Nagel again is my name. We have a lot of important infrastructure and facility priorities, and they all matter. But the one that I'm most concerned about is our traffic infrastructure. If you look at our 10-year capital strategy, right in the books and spreadsheets, starting in the year 2030 under transportation, it's $0 moving forwards for what we have planned. Yet we have enough development approved in our community to go to a population of 60,000, and we recently acquired water rights to have up to 100,000 people in this area. That's a 50% population growth in counting, and we don't have a 50% increase in our local traffic capacity. I can tell you that for sure. And so I want to see us plan additional municipal traffic projects. And that's an important distinction because I regularly hear us talking about what the provincial government's going to do for our traffic. And yes, our provincial highways are very, very important. Yes, I want to lobby for them, but it's time for Cochrane to take matters into our own hands and make sure we're planning for our own municipal traffic solutions. And what's really important to understand is that until we plan them, we are not legally able to be collecting money from developers. You can't collect development money for projects that are not planned. That means everything that isn't planned needs to be paid for by existing residents, not development. And so the longer we wait to get caught up on our traffic planning, the further and further we're falling behind financially. That's it, I guess.
Dean Hawkins. Primary function of any government is one of public safety, in particular, the preservation of life and property. Our town is far overdue the requirement of 2 satellite fire halls. I'll go on record and say previous councils, in my opinion, have failed adequately to protect residents of our town. as a result of poor leadership. This is not fiction, it's fact. We have 7 firefighters on any 24-hour period protecting 40,000 residents. They're understaffed, and they have been for a number of council terms. They don't have a training officer. We don't even have a fire chief now. Calgary, when they build huge development projects, the developers build a fire hall in that location out of their own money. They negotiate that deal with the council, and they provide an apparatus. Why we've not done that with our new bills to the north and the south is beyond me. The aim of this next council term for me would be to recommend that new council actively address the previous council's failures in safety, public safety, and address the situation and establish 2 fire halls in this council term and support our firefighters as they need to be supported. We need to actively recruit 8 new firefighters for the next 8 new firefighters a year for the next 3 years to make them adequately up to speed in public safety.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Jeff Chung here at Cochrane. There is no single infrastructure piece that will be the silver bullet for Cochrane. I'm sorry to bring that news to you tonight. But our extreme growth has put, like I said in my previous answer, extreme pressure on every single system we have across our community. Our needs are 24-hour healthcare, more schools, seniors housing, Big Hill Lodge, more recreation and ice services. I could go on here. Highway 22 South, transit, a library. Every single one of the things I just mentioned is $50 million or better. We need a group of individuals that are pulling in the same direction with relationships across the province, with our neighbors, other jurisdictions. Our limiting resources, I'm sorry to tell you, we do not have $1 billion in the bank, and we have $1 billion of needs over the next 10 years. I'm not sure, Morgan, you must have missed a couple of these meetings, but we had a few of those. There's no bonus for the CAO anymore. And there are lots of infrastructure projects coming in Cochrane, and we just need to work together on them. And what I want to do is work on those relationships, the relationships that we have with the Premier, the relationships we have with the UCP government, and the ministers. They will be the ones that need to help us with the infrastructure dollars that we need to deliver all of those to you. More schools, everything. It's across every single platform that I've just mentioned. And that's going to take a council that is willing to show up. One that is going to, like I said earlier, roll up its sleeves and get to work together. All 24 hours a day, working together for Cochrane. Thank you. The other thing that I have is alternative revenue generation, less reliance on tax dollars.
My name is Anthony Archer, for those that didn't catch it before. Now, I personally think the most pressing problem for infrastructure is the digital and physical infrastructure of Cochrane. I'm sure everybody here is no stranger with the traffic, and everybody's experienced the train. Now, right now, the town lacks all capacity to reasonably predict when the train will come and rapidly adjust the lights to match the schedule. And I propose that we should bring in a new system to interconnect all of the lights and ensure that when the train is detected, the schedule is modified and it will get to learn people's patterns. As just putting in another lane is not helping, it's extremely expensive, and it'll make things worse over the long haul. We need to find a way to use what we have to the max. Thank you, everyone. I can see my time.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I'm gonna get this all in. My name is Patrick Wilson. I'm a councillor running for re-election again. I don't think I'm gonna get all my projects in here. I think there's 15 that I have in front of me. You're gonna hear about them to my right. I'll just jump into the uncomfortable adult conversations that we can't afford any of these in our current trajectory if council doesn't deal with our financial insolvency problem. So why argue between unrealistic projects against one another? You may well ask, what the heck have you done about it over 8 years, Patrick? This has been the one subject I had focused on relentlessly from day one. Council and administration have heard from me ad nauseum. They are no doubt tired of it, but it can't be left alone. Successful advocacy for, what have we done? Successful advocacy for road dollars and billions in funding achieved, leveraging our desirability, making it into our land use bylaw. Finding Strong Towns, a bottom-up revolution by Chuck Marone in 2018 was a book that completely changed my paradigm. I think everybody should read it. I've read all their literature. I brought those findings back to council and admin with financial roadmaps attached. Hiring Urban 3 to do a financial analysis of Cochrane that was completed in April 2024, and I think everybody should go watch that presentation. It's very illuminating. Updating our offsite levy bylaw to collect the maximum allowable by the province for new builds. I have a bunch of leverage thoughts there. Advocacy for increasing provincial funding for infrastructure. This is one of our only catch-up mechanisms, to be honest. And then intergovernmental team, council advocacy, and Mayor Janung's work with mid-sized cities, I think has raised Cochrane's profile dramatically over 8 years. And we've seen the fruits of that already. We have exploratory work underway separating Cochrane's utilities into a separate business unit by isolating them into a corporation utility, think EPCOR. We can control costs, manage debt, and further isolate into a real user pay model. We won't have our financial house in order until this work is completed. And finally, municipal revenues need to go up while admin apparatus stays lean. I'm happy to elaborate, I just don't have time on it. So also happy to elaborate on my plan to implement a financial development analysis tool so that current and future councils aren't flying blind on the largest financial decisions they make. The reason we haven't done this till now, happy to elaborate. The good news is it's not too late to manage our growth and turn the ship around. I've studied many Canadian municipalities this morning. I just want to ask what candidates in this room are willing to work for this outcome in the future.
Hi, this is for Cole again. He believes that a properly resourced fire and emergency response service is the most critical for a safe, happy, and resilient community. Right now, the town is growing faster than the existing emergency response capacity, and resources are stretched beyond reasonable standards. With one fire hall located in the center of town, response times to neighborhoods like Fireside, Sunset Ridge, and the rapidly developing South Bow are under significant strain. That is not just a logistical issue, it's a safety risk. Every minute counts in an emergency, and Cochrane residents deserve better. Over the next 4 years, Cole will work to ensure the investment in fire and emergency services are both responsible and forward-thinking. That starts with training and equipping an additional fire crew to relieve the pressures on the current team. However, future planning must also take place for a second fire hall, ideally located in South Bow or Sunset, to ensure coverage across the entire town. This isn't about meeting standards, it's about protecting lives, property, and the long-term sustainability of the community. This also extends to other emergency services such as policing and EMS. We need a local police office and a 24-hour acute care services. As a councillor, again, Cole will push for transparency in budgeting and clear timelines to reach these goals. He's advocating for policies and partnerships that will make this happen. If a new neighborhood is being built, it must come with a plan and funding for services that will keep it safe. Cochrane's charm lies in its small town spirit where neighbors know each other and feel secure. Preserving that identity means investing in infrastructure that supports it. Fire. Thank you.
Am I close enough? If we want to build a safe, happy, and resilient community, we need to start with a plan, a real plan that reflects your needs, not just a shelf full of disconnected studies. Right now, we have master plans for water, wastewater, roads, emergency services, and recreation. We have the ingredients, but we have no recipe. We don't have a unified infrastructure plan that ties everything together. We need to see the connections, how population growth affects our water supply and wastewater capacity, how development approvals impact traffic and emergency responses, how recreation spaces support mental health and community well-being. As your councillor, I've pushed for a comprehensive infrastructure plan that brings all these elements into one clear roadmap. It will be tied directly to growth projections and development timelines, so we can prioritize smart investments and not reactive ones. And most importantly, I'll make sure these investments are transparent. You'll know what we're building, why we're building it, and how it's being funded. Trust starts with clarity, and accountability starts with a plan. And Cochrane deserves infrastructure that's not just built, but it's built with purpose.
Thank you, Sumeet. Good evening, my name is Paul Singh. So what is the most important infrastructure needed and to support Cochrane safe, happy, and what will we do over the next 4 years? Cochrane is a growing community. Over the next 4 years, I believe the most important kind of infrastructure isn't just building our roads. It's also about how we work together, listening to each other and planning wisely. To keep Cochrane safe, happy, and strong, we need to focus on things, talk with the residents, and really listen to their concerns and ideas and suggestions. Work with other level of governments to get funding and support for bigger projects. We need to make sure we have the basics in place. Things like senior housing, a new fire hall, roads, parks, trails, school, wastewater, and healthcare. And we also need to protect our open spaces and support our Western heritage. As we grow, we need to plan smart, making sure our new neighborhoods are safe, easy to get in and get out. In the next 4 years, I'll work with my fellow council members to set priorities and focus on what matters most to the people. Talk with the residents and listen to them. Push for funding supports from provincial and federal governments, and support responsible budgeting. Cochrane is a special place. If we plan wisely, stay flexible, and work together, we can build a town that works for everyone, now and in the future. Thank you.
My name's Alex Reed. Friends and there's some neighbors here and fellow taxpayers. Let's be honest, the wants and needs for infrastructure in our town have well outpaced what hardworking families like yours and mine can realistically afford. The town's current 10-year capital budget already sits at a staggering $85 million. And here's the kicker. That doesn't include a new fire hall. It doesn't include a new library. It doesn't include an additional hockey arena. It doesn't include indoor soccer, and long overdue the replacement of the Big Hill Lodge. So let's break that down. A new fire hall would cost between $8 and $10 million. A new library would cost between $5 and $8 million. An additional hockey rink between $8 and $10 million. A soccer, or for some of you, a pickleball dome, $3 to $4 million. And for the seniors to replace Big Hill Lodge, which obviously is provincial responsibility and long overdue, it's a fortune. So now we can't afford all this. We can't afford offloading all of this onto your tax base or mine and expect families to survive. We must prioritize. For me, the first priority is one that's clear and simple, a fire hall, because our community safety must come up first. If your house is burning or if your family needs help, seconds matter. And we can't gamble with safety. My number 2 priority is the Big Hill Lodge, because the measure of a town is how well it takes care of its seniors. Dignity and care for those who came before us must be more than just a slogan. It must be action. Yes, recreation and cultural amenities are important, but when tough choices have to be made, safety and dignity come first in my mind, and that's where I stand. Together, let's demand smart priorities, not reckless spending for those groups who have pressure or political interference. Thank you.
Hi again, folks. I'm going to start where I finished off and got rang last time, but I'll be quick this time. What will I do for council members to address this? I'll bring my past experience working for and with municipalities and affiliated corporations to the council table and help ensure planning decisions, important ones for you, the residents, are possibly, none of the points are being missed going forward. That's a big part. I'll also make sure, or try to work to actively help council get more cohesive and collaborative, because the team is very important and us as a whole working together. Now, on the infrastructure side, 24-hour urgent care, healthcare, important to me. Fire hall, very important. New seniors lodge, as I said before, preserving parks and natural spaces, and making sure developers are bringing to the table everything that we can get them to bring, and then following through with that and having safeguards in place so it's basically guaranteed that it's done. I think that covers it all. Thanks. I have flyers here that list my website, and happy to take any personal questions from you as we're wrapping things up. And there, I finished on time. Thank you very much.
Don't start the timer yet. Anyway, still Tara. So the question is, what's the most critical infrastructure need and what will I do about it? So I actually feel we've done a great job on catching up on the big stuff. Water, sewer, major traffic infrastructure, that's been essential for the growing town that is Cochrane. And over the last few years, I think a lot of you know, my focus has been on what matters most to people, recreation, culture, and connection. So we need the Horse Creek Sports Park, we need a new library, we need more soccer and rugby fields, and yes, we need a new arena. These are spaces where our kids grow, our families gather, and the community comes together. But when it comes to critical infrastructure that keeps us safe, happy, and resilient, nothing is more urgent than fire protection. And that means planning not just for one, but for 2 new fire stations. So if you look at recommendations 69 and 70 of Cochrane's Fire Services Master Plan, it does highlight the need for a second one, primarily in the south first and in the north secondary. As we've been outpacing our emergency response capacity, and response times have been rising, putting lives at risk. So over the next 4 years, I've committed to working with the new council to advance planning on these 2 new stations. So at the end of the day, real governance is not a story you tell. It's about a senior who smells smoke and knows help is minutes away. It's about the kid whose call for help is answered with boots at the door. And it's about a firefighter who doesn't lose time getting across town. So these are the moments that we design for. So safety doesn't depend on luck, but on leadership. Thank you.
Laura McDonald. The question used the words safe, happy, and resilient. Where do you feel safest? I feel safest in my home. I hope that the same sentiment is true for each of you, but I know there's a lot of Cochranites who don't have that luxury. So I want to talk about housing. As established, I'm the former executive director of Helping Hands, and in those years, I learned so much about the hidden adversity that exists in Cochrane. I judge a community on how well we take care of our vulnerable. In my free time, I volunteer on the Housing Society, the Cochrane Society for Housing Options, and we talk a lot about diverse housing for all the different folks who live in Cochrane. We all have different needs at different stages of our lives, different incomes, ages, and abilities, all require different housing solutions. We moved here 13 years ago to raise our children. One of my kids was born with significant disabilities. It vastly affected how I view the world. When I think about housing in Cochrane, I want to see a community that's prepared for my daughter and people like her. My parents followed us here. I want to live in a community that's prepared for my parents as they age and their housing needs age. Their housing needs change. Our housing solutions have to reflect this diversity that exists in Cochrane. That's, to me, one of our greatest infrastructure challenges.
Hi, Howard May. As a former firefighter and somebody who spent over a year remodeling his house only to watch it burn to the ground shortly thereafter, I can tell you there's few things in life that will punch you in the gut more emotionally than that experience. I tell you that not for pity, but to tell you that you don't have to convince me about the need for firefighters. I've already spoken with them. I know a couple of them. So if you're just going to focus on safety, obviously that's the first thing. You can't, Patrick's term, I'm going to draw on my corporation finance degree now and him translate. It was nice to hear him use the word, was it financial? Yeah, financially insolvent. My dad would tell you that means you're broke. So there's my mom that wanted me to go to university. So she was a librarian too, so I'll have to make sure I mention that. So I think it's not possible for me to rank things. If you lived in Fireside or Sunset, one of the top things on your list is we need another road in and out of here, obviously. Or in Fireside, Highway 22 might be higher on your list. If you live in East Cochrane, it might be, hey, when are you going to redo our sewer and water system? I think it depends on the neighborhood, and that gets back to working together as a team. And I'm not just stopping talking while the other person talks, but actually really listening to other people's points of view and getting both sides of the argument. That's something you learn as a reporter in journalism school and in practice. You can't send your story off to the editor until you fully understood the other side of the issue. There's two sides to every story.
Hello, I'm Don Lees. The most critical infrastructure right now is transportation. Traffic, congestion, and public transportation are the top frustrations for our residents. It slows us down, hurts safety, and affects our quality of life. Over the next 4 years, I'll support road improvements and better planning so growth doesn't keep outpacing our infrastructure. I'll also back community services that keep people connected and safe. My goal is clear: fewer bottlenecks, safer roads, and services that match what residents are asking for. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Chris Conant's here. One of the dangers of going last is you're going to hear the same story. I think the most critical infrastructure we need to invest in right now is emergency services, especially fire. As Cochrane continues to grow, the number of calls, the size of the area they cover have increased dramatically, but funding and infrastructure, frankly, haven't kept pace. Response times are being stretched. In emergency, every second counts, whether it's fire, medical, natural disaster, whatever. Families need to know that help will arrive and arrive quickly. This means modern fire halls in the right places, proper equipment, and enough trained staff to keep our community safe. Here's the truth. Our emergency service response times are dangerously long. Parks are important, absolutely. High streets, you bet. But we're living in a community right now that is currently lacking in protection. And if a family lives in the farther reaches of Cochrane, the reality is that should a fire happen, there's almost no chance to save the home, the pets, or maybe a family. Over the next 4 years, I'll focus on advocating for proper ambulance coverage with AHS, planning and building additional fire stations, plural, and as our town expands, and supporting recruitment and retention so our teams have the capacity to respond effectively. Emergency services cannot be an afterthought. If we want Cochrane to remain a safe, resilient community, then we need to give our first responders the tools and support they need to keep up with our growth.
Hi, I'm still Carol. We've all heard tonight, everybody says we need fire stations, roads, 24-hour urgent care, and I agree with that 100%. But another thing that we haven't really thought about is infrastructure being the people. The people at our Cochrane Ranch House that run everything that happens in the city, town, and also our town council. We, as elected officials, would be part of the infrastructure, and us working together, having, good meetings, getting along, and sitting down, not just when we're having council meetings and debating things, but having meetings and talking about what can we do to make everything function better. And that means, like, I've heard a lot of dissent on the town council, as well as in the employees that work for the town. There's rumor, but you kind of have to think there's some aspect of truth to some rumors. And I think the really important infrastructure we need is people that are working for the taxpayers and the citizens in this town, working together, getting along, and coming up with actual solutions. And money is a huge problem, so that's a big thing, but how can we all work together to serve you, the taxpayer? That's an infrastructure, as far as I'm concerned, that seems to be not talked about very much. And I think that if I was elected, that would be my number one thing, is how do we all work together to make lives better for everyone here? There's so much that we have to be thankful for in this town, and I'm very grateful to live here, and I hope that I can represent you. Thank you.
So everyone has mentioned really great points. I don't want to repeat everything, but I think something that hasn't been touched on too much is cold. I think a huge aspect of affordability is having functional transit, and I think our transit could be more efficient, more functional. Another thing I would like to see eventually is a connection to the C train. I think students could use it, seniors, parents, everyone. I think it would be used. I think it's needed. I think we're the last municipality that doesn't offer some sort of connection to the city. So I would like to explore that, just so we can make things more accessible for everyone. And yeah, I guess pretty much what everyone else said. With urgent care, I think it would be more realistic to ask for at least until midnight. I think you have to ask for an inch at a time. And I'd be in support of also fire hall or two.
Brian DeLong again. Now that our interchange and twinning of highways is almost near completion, I would choose another infrastructure under provincial jurisdiction. That being a 24-hour emergency healthcare center, or at the very least, physically and functionally expanding our current urgent care center to 24 hours, and a consistent 24-hour Cochrane-based ambulance service. This highlights the critical importance of our new council establishing and fostering a positive rapport and relationship with the provincial government. We would need to do extensive research and statistics compiling and analysis, such as Cochrane's population, rate of growth, projected future population, time and distance from the nearest hospital and emergency healthcare facility, and the percentage of time ambulance service here is unavailable for over an hour, if at all. Most heart attacks and many strokes and accidents occur early in the morning, so our urgent healthcare center's opening time of 8 a.m. doesn't cut it, nor does a 10 p.m. closing in the evening. We have simply outgrown our center. Some of our children, right up through our elderly, inclusive, are unnecessarily dying. We on town council would present our compelling case to the provincial government that Cochrane is the urban municipality in the province with the biggest need for an emergency healthcare center and consistent ambulance service. Perhaps Cochrane should even consider securing city status so that the provincial legislature would finally take Cochrane and our decades-long period of rapid growth and our resultant needs a lot more seriously. Thank you.
My name is Dan Juna, and obviously at the end of the line here. So one of the things I'm going to try to do here is give you a cold zone. One of the topics I'm going to talk about, I'm very passionate about, and I tend to ramble when I'm passionate, so I apologize. I'm going to try to keep the cold zone. Now, one of the things that cold zone I'm going to start with is every last single thing that I'm talking about right now is in my website. I have done everything I can to make sure that you have all the details you need to make an informed choice. I'm not here to make a bright shiny promise with no details. Those details are there. As I had with all my previous elections, I was the first candidate up there. I did that because I wanted to have conversations with you about the issues that are important to you. All my details are there. Now, one of the things I'm going to start off with is just an observation. We are now allowed or using this rec center, and we almost lost this rec center. The YWCA.
I know it.
I know you do. I've spoken to a bunch of people, user groups. Bottom line is they didn't even know what the council was doing until about a month before the final decision was being made. That should never happen. That gets to another thing when I'm talking about, well, that's just the point, okay? Now, the other thing is when we're talking about critical infrastructure, I agree with some of the comments here. We're not talking about just one piece of infrastructure. We're talking about everything. Now I'm going to get to the point that I'm passionate about. You, seniors care. I don't believe begging is a good strategy. It's not an effective strategy. We need to work with our community partners, private business, educational facilities to help you live at home in a healthier, happier, more involved way with the community. There's solutions out there that we can do that. But not if we think inside the box and not if we continue just holding our relationship.
Hi, it's Margaret Blair, and I would have talked about fire, but I met Chris, the fire president in Cochrane, and he's quite happy that he says there's a new fire station going up the south end. So, not that he doesn't want more, but it's on its way. So, I want to talk more about infrastructure is more than roads and pipes. It's about connecting people through recreation, the arts, and public spaces. Now, here's just a few of the gaps I've identified. Recreation programs are full, and ice time is scarce. Seniors on the bowl have outlived this space, and men's sheds are just getting started. Whole bus routes and hours of service limit mobility. The library is way too small, and we don't have a dedicated performing arts center. Now, these initiatives may not sound important or as important as some of the other infrastructure, but I want to ask you this question. What has had the biggest impact on your lives? Roads and pipes, or the connections that you made through arts and recreation? Connectivity projects are not just nice to have. They're about attracting residents and businesses, promoting health and inclusion, and improving our quality of life. So I'd like to see connectivity projects included in the mix as we make tough decisions. Look for innovative solutions, accelerate grants, offsite levies and sponsorships, and include commercial revenue generating when we build a new infrastructure project. So investing in connectivity through recreation, the arts, and public space is what brings communities together and creates a town where residents are safe, happy, and resilient. That's the kind of Cochrane I'd like to be a part of building. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? No.
Usually I don't have a problem being heard. Okay, so I used to be a play school teacher, and I know that a lot of you can't sit this long for that long. So we're going to play a little game. It's called Stand Up. Everyone stand. Stand up. Shake a minute. Shake a minute. All right. Shake a minute. And then, if you could, bend over, bend back up, bend over, bend back up, and then sit down. Okay. Thank you. You guys are great. All right. We're going
getting to the fun part now, which is called yes or no answers. And so that means that you have to answer just yes or no and you can't explain yourself. So, when I read the question, you put up your hand if you're a yes. If you're no, you don't do a thing. If you're maybe undecided or you don't want to answer the question for whatever reason, fold your arms. All right? And at this point, I would ask Cole's representative if she would please leave because she cannot participate. All right. Are you guys ready? These questions have come to you from the people in Cochrane Settlement Community Association or from a list of seniors' priorities that I was given. Okay? So they've not come from me, not one of them. I don't care about how you answer them, but people in the audience do. All right, here you go. Are you ready? If you say yes, hands up. If you say no, do nothing. If you don't want to answer for whatever reason, or if you're wishy-washy, fold your arms. All right. I don't know. No, just stand where you are. Sit where you are. Okay. All right, everyone ready? First question. This is going to go real fast, all right? When elected, will you work with the province and get a new Big Hill Lodge built? Woohoo! Hey! On council, will you do everything you can to provide a public transit system from Cochrane to the Calgary LRT? On council, will you ensure that Colt provides transit service from downtown to the Cochrane Ranch House and to the Spray Lake Recreational Center? So far, you guys are doing fantastic. Okay, here's a seniors question, so put on your caps and don't mess around. I had to discover I was a senior recently. Okay. Many seniors are on fixed incomes, and cash flow can be very problematic. Will you commit to no further increases in public utility costs over the next 4 years?
Say that again.
Okay, man after my own heart. Here we go. Once elected, as a councillor, will you ensure that developers who commence work in the East End stick to the development permit conditions and actually complete their projects and complete them on time? Okay. Once elected, will you allow?
Sorry, Judy, we had one question. You were looking for a restart on it. So 2 back.
Go back to?
Yeah, the utility.
As a councillor, will you ensure that developers who commence work in the East End? About the seniors?
Utility.
About
the
utility costs.
Many seniors are on fixed incomes and cash flow can be very problematic. You know what that means, eh? Cash flow? You got it. All right, here we go. Cash flow can be very problematic. Will you commit to no further increases in public utility costs over the next 4 years? Now, as a council, will you ensure that developers who commence work in the East End stick to the development permit conditions and actually complete their projects and complete them on time? Once elected, will you allow left-hand turns off Center Ave onto William Street and other roadways in the East End to help traffic movement? Okay. All right, I live in the East End, but boy, oh boy, these questions are coming from people who are affected by some of these decisions that have been made. So here I'm going to read you this one. Noise from highway, I'm nervous. Okay. Noise from, okay. Noise from Highway 1A traffic is overwhelming and a health hazard to residents. This is a fact. As a councillor, will you ensure that sound attenuation infrastructure is developed on Highway 1A from headlands to the homestead and to the downtown residential area? Okay. All right, here we go. Do you support quarterly public town halls to update the public on the implementation of the budget, new and proposed developments, and new bylaws? Do you commit to ensuring that critical natural infrastructure, I lied. This is my question. This is mine. Okay. Do you commit to ensuring that critical natural infrastructure, such as wetlands and riparian lands, drainage courses, and ravines, are protected from development? Thank you. Okay. Seniors currently make up 30%, 1/3 of the population of the town of Cochrane. On council, will you ensure better facilities and resources for the growing senior population in Cochrane? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm going to ask you to once more, before we pull the questions from the audience out of the hat, to stand up, please. Stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, your future council.
Okay. The next section is we'll be pulling questions from the hat. Nobody at the table here knows what the questions are. These are all random questions from the audience. And in order to kind of mix up the order, I'm going to be hitting the first person, or let's try every fourth person, and then I'll make my way back this way to kind of mix up the order of the questions. Right. We will be starting with Anthony Archer. Could you please select a question from that?
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, you want to go read your question?
Okay, so a question from the audience. Why has road and utility infrastructure been virtually left behind? Traffic in the core is very congested. My answer to this is, well, Cochrane's been pretty broke, to put it bluntly. And secondarily, there wasn't much foresight for what has actually occurred. We have to get this back on track, and without actually planning for the future, we're gonna run into this again and again and again. Thank you.
What I might do, just to speed things up, I'm going to give the next person a few seconds to review the question while Brian here thinks about his response. Oh, that's fine. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. They have an abbreviation on here, so it took me a moment to figure out what it meant. If you are elected, will you work with council to review the CAO bylaw and position? My answer to that is absolutely. If I'm elected, I will work with council to do everything that needs to be done, including reviewing the chief accounts officer bylaw and position. I will admit that I'm not really up to speed on this particular bylaw, but I would certainly bring myself up to speed on it, as I would with every other matter important to council, every other matter that we face, and definitely work collaborating together with other council members in that regard. Thank you.
I'm up. Jeff Januk. My question is, how are you planning to make Cochrane more affordable? And I appreciate this question. I tried to get into this with my last question, number 2. One of the visions I have for Cochrane is alternative revenue generation. I talked about all the infrastructure needs we have and how they're in the almost $1 billion over the next 10 years. And we're going to have to work together with all levels of government, all partners, us as a community, to even put a dent in any of them. So we need to come up with innovative ways on how we can generate income that is not based on fees or taxation. And one of my ideas was a waste to energy. Currently, we're putting our garbage into a black bin, and we pay our utility company to take it to the city of Calgary, and we pay landfill tipping fees. I would like to use technology that has been proven over 100 years ago in the UK and Europe, where we take our trash and we turn it into our cash. And that's my tagline, trash to cash.
Well, hello, I'm Don Lees. I got, why are you running and what changes are needed? Well, I'm running because I think I can make a difference. I think that our council needs diversity on it. I'm a hardworking family man. I work 40 plus hours a week in the construction industry. I've paved many of these roads here, and I think my voice on council would be needed and welcomed here. What changes are needed? I think that council needs to work together more and get things done in a timely manner. Right now, things seem to be stalled, and there seems to be I don't know, there's discontent with our council, and we need to solve that issue. Thanks.
So the question here is, how important to you are the following: a new seniors on the boat facility, and the second, the Big Hill Lodge new facility? And both of these are really important to me. I remember when the old seniors facility was downtown, there was like mold and water was leaking, and it was a travesty. So this facility became, where can we find a senior space? And so that's kind of how we landed here. And but it's so great because I know it's busy. I understand that it's like 55, which means I'm closer to being able to come here than I ever thought I would be. But yeah, I think, as we said, 25 to 30% of our population are seniors. So we really need to lean into the spaces that allow our seniors to be active and healthy and engaged. The second one, the Big Hill Lodge new facility. I've served on the Rocky View Foundation a couple of years ago now, and know how much they can do in making this happen. And so having a Big Hill Lodge new facility, we really need to, I support the municipality providing the land and the location for that. We need to work with Rocky View Foundation to make that a solution. You can tell me there's a time on this one.
Hey, Alex Reed, my question, Judy, you must have did this one. 1/3 of Cochrane's population is seniors. What would you do to increase and prepare our seniors for the future? I suggested it earlier. We need the Big Hill Lodge. It's obvious. It's long overdue. And the way we take care of our seniors is a sign of how we take care of our community, right? These are the people. It's no longer a slogan. It needs to be done. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Patrick Wilson, what would your strategy for urgent care in Cochrane be? That's one of those misnomer questions where candidates often promise that we have a lot of municipal control over anything that happens in urgent care. The truth is we don't. All we can really do is advocate to the province. They're the one who funds it, of course. That is something that's not lost in our council. I think our advocacy efforts have been borderline AA+ for 8 years. I think we're doing an excellent job there. I again commend Mayor Janung for his work with mid-sized cities and the profile we've raised here in Cochrane. I know that we're at the top of many ministers' lists for most of our needs here in Cochrane, including the urgent care. I'm a little bit dismayed to relate that we're so close to Calgary. I'm worried that we may never get that. extra urgent care we're looking for, but perhaps extended hours and what we've already seen, which is more doctors seeing more patients at urgent care, is something we can realistically expect. So I don't want to overpromise. I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver with their advocacy in urgent care.
Hello there, here's the question. I'm worried about the park surrounding the tennis court in Glenbow. I understand that the construction company who did the paving was obliged to restore the damaged greenery. Unfortunately, there was no quality control in place, and the once beautiful park has turned into weeds. Please reassure me. I'd like to be able to reassure you. And I have to confess that I don't know a lot about that particular situation. However, what I can tell you is that I know that the parks manager and the town are very committed to having good green space. We've had problems sometimes in Glen Eagles, and whenever we talk to them, they're very receptive and try to make a change. So I would hope that that would be the case here, and I would hope that you would write the town and ask for their help, because when we do, we get almost instant replies and answers, so you'll probably get a far better answer from her.
So I got this question, I'm gonna be honest, don't really know, but it's the 26 acres the town has purchased should be made into a seniors village. Do you support this? I recognize we definitely need more housing in general, seniors, as well as a new lodge. I don't actually think I know where this 26 acres is though. So I don't think I can answer this. But I am in full support of more housing because we do definitely need more affordable housing and housing for seniors.
Hi there, Dean Hopkins. Train from Calgary to Banff. How will we control the traffic? So there's going to be a lot of traffic coming in and going out, and the management of that, with reference trains, is a provincial, but advocating for it on a municipality level, it's all about security and providing adequate security coverage for the vehicles and people, the influx of more people into our town. And one of those big areas would be our police force and making sure that everything is managed correctly and the flow of people in and out of our town. If we're talking about traffic, as in physical traffic, cars, buses, so on and so forth, I'd be looking at trying to get council to identify a parking ride.
Howard May, this is an easy one, but one of the easy ones, well, easy for me. Do you want Alberta to stay in Canada? Yeah, my answer is twofold, yes, but I think we should make the United States the 11th province.
Hi, folks. Everybody's hanging in there okay? Okay, my question is, what differentiates you, via me, from other candidates? And it's meant for a councillor candidate. So my background is a lot of work in the municipal field, of working for municipalities, or helping them, or helping corporations affiliated with them and groups. I was on the other side of the council table, but presenting to council. So when I sit at the table with council, I know the questions to ask. If we're going down a path that, yeah, that's not going to work, I'll pull it back respectfully. That differentiates me. So my experience, and I'm very community minded. I want what's best for Cochrane, for you as residents, and that covers all the stuff I mentioned tonight. Thanks very much, Todd Muir.
Thank you. Good evening, Paul Singh here. How will you broaden the property tax base so the onus of support does not always fall to homeowners? So that's the talk of the talk of the evening is like, we want to pay more property tax, but we can find different avenues, like, getting more investment from the business side, which will help to give job opportunity to our youth, as we know that the unemployment for the youth in Canada-wide is 17%. So retaining the businesses and giving the opportunities to the youth and also the people who want to work, live, play here, it could be a game changer. Also, Garmin is prime example, 4 Eyes, having those big corporations coming up here, and supporting a local business will help to offset those cost to the homeowners. Right now, I believe the base is 85 to 15% residence to business. We can definitely go higher to offset the cost. Thank you.
And Kieran, and my question is for all. Do you feel our town provides enough opportunities for youth, jobs, recreation, or education? The simple answer is no. I guess it talked for 2 minutes, but no.
Hi, I'm Carol. My question is, what are your views on reducing the speed limit on Highway 1A through Cochrane? I think it's a great idea, but I'm a realist. So I think the best way that we are going to handle how fast people drive is to probably see if we can figure out how to afford more police officers, because I live in Fireside, I'll be very honest, and I live close to the school, and I can hear the traffic. And reducing speed limits are not just for Highway 1A. I think that we need to put some traffic control and speed controls where our schools are, because my grandson now goes to kindergarten, and I hear that I can see how fast people drive down Fireside Boulevard, Fireside Way, where all the schools are there. And I think we need to do something about speed limits in general, not just on Highway 1A. Thank you.
I'm still Chris Clements. So the question I get, there are many citizens affected by the noise of airplanes flying over their homes from streaming. Can you make Cochrane a no-fly zone? So one thing you actually may not know about me is I'm actually a licensed drone pilot. I actually have training and do that sort of stuff. And I'm stealing your answer, short and sweet, no. The reality is no, we can't. We can advocate for it, absolutely, but ultimately that falls under transport manager to this.
Laura McDonald, have the prospective candidates all signed Forever Canada petition? If not, why? So that's kind of a question for me, and then also a question for everyone. I'm not sure how you'd like to handle that, Judy. I have. I'm happy to tell you that. So that's an easy answer, but I'm going to take my minute because I have a minute. I want to say that I'm really, really proud to be a Cochraneite, and I'm really proud that we're raising our children here. We chose Cochrane 13 years ago, and I would still choose Cochrane today. I continue to choose Cochrane. I'm proud to be an Albertan, and I'm also proud to be a Canadian. So absolutely, I sign that petition.
I got what may seem like a softball question, but I actually have something I really want to share about it. As an elected official, can you share how you will be respectful, responsible, accountable, and transparent to the residents of Cochrane? Again, feels like we're playing a little bit of question roulette, and I got a decent one. But the way elected officials behave is actually something that's very important to me and near and dear to my heart. With the emergence of that guy down south, democracy has changed, and not for the better. There has just, I don't know if you guys remember the story of Bev Oda. She got basically canceled from her job in Ottawa because she expensed a $16 orange juice. And the stuff that politicians are getting away with today makes that look like just an absolute joke. And the way our culture has changed over the last 10 years has been something that I don't want to be part of. I want to be an example of chivalry and respect and treating everybody decently. And one of the things that's most important to me in my desire to become mayor is to build a unified council. And so one of the things I've actually been doing during this election so far is reaching out to all of the council candidates. I've been sending people emails trying to figure out what is it that they want to achieve. Because I feel like I've spent 12 years on council. Yeah, I've got so much to say, but I'll respect the rules.
Being scared. I read the MGA. I'm gonna say I'm 80% there. So typically when I've been following along with council, I usually always go back to the MGA, read the applicable sections, just to make sure I'm fully understanding what's going on and what should be happening there. So I still have 20% to go.
So we've finished all the questions. Please feel free to mingle, meet with everybody. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Thank you.
Went very well.